Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a great day. Another look here at SUI, seeing what's going on. I want to start by saying thank you to everyone who's been watching the videos here for this coin. We've been covering it for a while, but lately we've been getting a little bit more views than usual. So deeply appreciate you hitting the like button, commenting below if you get a chance, and just really deeply appreciate the SUI community. You're all fantastic, minus a couple of trolls here and there. The moon boys that want to go $5 to $10 this month. I get it. We all want that. But we got to be realistic too here. So this, what you see on the charts here, let me go ahead and pull it up if I recall correctly for SUI from yesterday, is basically letting us know here that we're below a resistance now. Okay, so keep in mind we had that support in that like 206 range, and then there was also 217. I was expecting us to be kind of range bound and down because we are essentially respecting our descending trend, and to reject off 217, that would have been a consideration for me to short. We never even came back up to that level. The price just continued to run. So congrats on those who got in on a short or those who were patient enough to wait for a long. I would still recommend a little bit more patience. I know it seems crazy, but Bitcoin is tentatively topping out, and large market cap coins are taking somewhat of a hit, more specifically SUI and AVAX. There's other coins that are like pretty well overextended in the last few days, or in this case a few weeks, that are taking one of the bigger hits. And the main reason why is because there's a lot of meat left on the bone. Okay, you got to recognize that. Parabolic moves, while they can and will happen, I'm pretty confident that SUI will continue to run at some point. It would make a lot more sense for it to consolidate and to retrace first. It's just kind of a logical standard thing. And this one has a target on its back now, especially with the market makers, the whales. They are recognizing that there is a lot of profit here and they can sell and push the price down pretty fast. So just be mindful of that, okay? Take a look at SUI. On the left-hand side, we got the last 7 days of liquidation. We can recognize that 170 is that next heavy pocket of liquidation. Do I think we're going to see 170? I think that's a pretty low probability, but it's still a realistic aspect that we need to be mindful of. That is a key level support though, based on previous areas of support and resistance. In fact, we previously tried to short SUI with no success. I'm only 50% on 2 shorts with SUI, by the way, and I don't recommend doing that, honestly. You want to have full confirmation before you do that. However, the whole point of me mentioning that is that 170 was one of our original targets, and that's a key level support that essentially we will see potentially retested, but I don't think that's a firm reality at this point. I just want you to know that liquidation kind of indicates that that's where people feel like they have the most support, because it's just below a local low, and it's kind of one of those areas that you see a large accumulation of volume. So with large accumulations of volume, market makers see that, they want to push the price action there, so there's no opposition. Generally how it works. And with us being under $2 now, there's a chance we could see that 170 mark as a possibility. Okay, now I know, some of these foolhardy SUI folks are going to think that that's very offensive, and they're going to get upset that I said that. Honestly, you don't belong in crypto if you get pissed off when somebody says that a coin is going to pull back. It's just unnecessary. I get the whole fundamental aspect. There's a lot of good fundamentals here, but we've seen phenomenal projects in the past get absolutely destroyed by market makers. So again, the important thing is we want to recognize where they're at, what's their mindset, and we want to adjust to that. Take a look here, we can see the delta is pretty low. We have a lot more shorts than longs in the market, which is generally a good sign in the overall sense. It does imply we're getting closer to our bottom. A lot of times you'll see the delta get really high when the price reverses. So this to me is a very positive sign, mainly because we can see that area of support, that 0.618 fib level, holding so far so strong at like $198 to $2. So there's a decent chance we see a pivot and a bounce from here. Having said that, we got 218 as that local area of interest, more so the open interest, and that's where people have the most amount of positions. So there's a lot of people in the red right now that are probably quite pissed off by me saying the price could pull back further. Okay, so again, just heads up on that. Now let's go ahead and clean up the charts and work our way down, see what's going on. And what I like to look at on the daily time frame is just kind of reaffirming the fact that we're still in a bullish trend. So to those emotional folks, whatever the case, even if you're not, this is a good sign. We're above the 20-day SMA. We're honoring the ascending trend line. SUI is still more likely to continue higher than it is to go lower. That's just the overall macro perspective. In the meantime, it would make sense also to not attach yourself to the bias that the price is going to the stinking moon, and to recognize the realism here in the sense that this coin has to consolidate and retrace at least a little bit. Profits have to be taken in order for it to go up again. All right. That in combination with Bitcoin kind of getting closer to some doji candles in the 4-hour time frame and a potential resistance level here, I do still think that we might see a little bit more of a correction from SUI. But once more, $2 is a good area of interest. I would highly recommend adding to your spot bag in this range, just based on the simple fact that we're still bullish, but a big part of me, the conservative part of me, thinks that that's a bad idea still. But again, I wait for opportunities that never happen, so please recognize that being patient does have its downfalls. FOMO can be a very real thing. I no longer FOMO after being in the industry for over 20 years, but I can tell you that there are cases in point where that can feel pretty bad. So I get it. If you want to get some skin in the game, go ahead. $2 is somewhat of a support level, but I personally think waiting would be advantageous. That's just me. I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times, so it's all good. Anyways, taking a look here, we can see the RSI tapering off, getting closer to 50. Generally speaking, 50 should be a support level for us, or support range. Anytime we've seen this coin come down as low as 50, it will pivot and bounce pretty hard. Obviously, this was a pretty substantial move. That was a pretty heavy move there. In fact, we got to update our Elliott wave. I'll post that on our playout chart here on Twitter, Telegram, or Discord too, folks. So we'll get an updated chart for you. But the general consensus here is that we're stochastically swinging down for the second time. That carries more weight than the first, mainly because you see more overextension in the second leg up than you do the first. And those are usually due for correction. That's exactly why it's generally construed as an expansive wave versus the initial wave. That in combination with MACD diverging here, while both divergences in the recent past haven't been fruitful, the price will turn itself around both times. You can only diverge so many times in a row. So 3 times is potentially the charm. We could very well see a further divergence. Just know, again, daily candlestick closure at about 201 here recently. That should work as a support until it doesn't. So we closed today below $2. There's a solid chance we'll see further continuation down. But also got to recognize too that Bitcoin is, it's potentially pulling back. My speculation is we're going to see 64.5 to 66K as a possibility for Bitcoin as the next area of retracement. So just kind of give you perspective. These are like my thoughts here. Again, I've been totally wrong in the past, but generally speaking, more accurate than not lately. We can see Bitcoin could range bound itself in this lower 0.382, 0.236 fib level. And we have a lot of support and confluence in that area. I'm not proposing that Bitcoin's going to drop super hard, but it would make sense that we top out here initially, kind of shake out some of those late longs, and then we hit the old reset button and then launch from there. That ties into SUI because SUI is performing poorly in this range. So let's take a quick look at the 4 hour and I'll explain what I mean by performing poorly in this range here in a second. If we look at the 4 hour time frame, we can recognize we're below 2 of the important moving averages. So just to clarify, this is where these come from here. See the 20-day SMA aligning itself perfectly with that descending trend line? That's not a good thing. Being below that is generally disadvantageous. We want to be above that to have confidence in taking a long position. That's why this is conflicting, right? We got a macro ascending trend and a short-term descending trend. Oftentimes you don't want to trade into that. It's just not really the smartest, best practice. Either way you look at it here, the 50-day SMA right there is about 205. Is somewhat of a resistance level now. Again, I try not to propose that simple moving averages are resistances. It's just that we got some confluence there, right? We got that 0.5 fib at 206, 205. We've got some obvious rejection here where the price action has had difficulty crossing this level 4 or 5 times in a row. Okay, and it leads me to believe that's a resistance level. I don't know if you can see it, but it seems pretty clear to me. That said, we're under 50 on the RSI. We've broken tentatively bearish. Stochastic is swinging up, trying to find its bottom, but MACD also diverging and trend strength index hitting 0. These are never great signs to take a long position into. Hourly time frame, though, we can take a look here and recognize that this window of opportunity is closing. So the longer we spend in this range, the more likely we are to recover and bounce back. Okay. Either way you look at it, though, at this exact moment, conversion lines below the baseline, lagging spans free and clear, and we are below the cloud. These are all disadvantageous signs, implying you should not take a long position. I don't know how many times I have to say that for people to get it, but that's essentially the concept. Once more, there's anomalies and strange things that happen in crypto that make those things invalidated sometimes. But statistically, we're going to find a lot more success. I'm not saying to short right now, but you're going to find more success not taking a long than you would be to take a long. Now, taking a short position on SUI is always very high risk, so I wouldn't recommend that in general. But here's the reason why I feel like a short may be more of a consideration than a long. We take a look at this, we can see a pretty obvious little pattern here. This is a descending type of pattern that generally breaks to the downside, mainly because you're establishing lower highs and you inevitably break to the downside because you can only test support so many times. While 0.65, 0.618, that golden pocket is a good support range, you can only knock on that door so many times before it breaks down. Anyways, just a food for thought. Hypothetically, that does happen. Say the price does break down. We're still honoring our ascending trend, even if we come as low as 185. So please recognize Just because I'm saying the price could pull back a little bit further doesn't mean I am attacking you personally, all right? It's just the logic of how this is shaping up. So me, when we see an ascending trend and a descending trend, I generally wait for a direction to be established first. That's just my thoughts. But again, my odds of success are much higher just based on the fact that I take trades that are not forced and they are trades with confirmation, okay? And those are all things I explain in the videos. If you want more details, obviously CryptoCash.tech is a site. Link down below if you're curious on how that works. I do have a Trading Academy community and signals group. Be sure you check out, obviously, our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you're not familiar. It's all available there for you. Very last thing too, folks. Bitunix, this exchange is awesome. We've been using them for over a year. I specifically worked with them because there's no KYC or VPN required for them, and they benefit our community greatly. So again, awesome deposit bonus between now and the end of the month. Highly recommend checking that out. This goes for anyone in my community who's already used my link to register. And if you want to join, welcome aboard. All right, folks, have a good rest of your day. Thanks again so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.